All right, live on a Wednesday night. We are streaming again, so we're getting on a consistent roll again. I don't know if you guys saw, but I was on BTL this morning doing a live show with them. That was pretty awesome. If you haven't seen that, go check out BTL this morning. But tonight we have special guests. We got somebody on the stream with me. HellaBass is sounding off. We're going to bring in Dan Fabiano, owner of Arsenal Fishing, Arsenal Customs, probably a bunch of other things I don't even know about. Minnesota tournament angler like myself. What's up, Dan?
What up, guys? How's it going? Thanks for having me on the show, Rich.
Yeah. Liam, yeah, that's Bass Talk Live. So sorry I was shortened to BTL. What's up, Owen? Yeah, so tonight we are going to talk about a handful of things. Dan claims to be a swim jig expert. He's told me that that's his go-to. So he's going to give away some juice on swim. We're going to talk about the Classic Bass Champions Tour a little bit, and probably a few other things and some Arsenal stuff. So a whole lot of things to talk about tonight. Dan's out his mobile situation right now. He's rigging in his boat.
Yeah, sorry guys. I was set up for a laptop deal, and literally when Rich put me live, my laptop just kind of crashed out on me. I'm having battery issues with my laptop, so I just switched to the phone, and now I'm all cramped up trying to get everything in screen for you guys. But we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
All right. Already got a handful of people pouring in, so we're getting started. So I don't know, Dan, what's I guess maybe how'd you? I mean, you haven't been fishing tournaments for a long time, but you've been going hard at it recently. Maybe just give like the 10,000 foot view of your how you got into the fishing. And
well, tournament fishing is kind of newer to me than a lot of other people that I've been competing against. This is my 7th year tournament bass fishing, and I kind of got into it because I was a professional rollerblader for 16 years, doing all the Extreme, X Games, ESPN crap. And when I slowly kind of sizzling away from that industry, I had a buddy, Justin Hill, that lives up in the Chisago Lakes area, and he was also rollerblading back in the day. And by the time I was moving back from New Jersey to Minnesota, he was telling me that he was getting out of rollerblading, getting into bass fishing, and he kind of pushed me into this realm, saying that it was still competitive, there was still high adrenaline. It was just something that I would really get engaged with. And then I started looking at some stuff on YouTube. And at that time, about 7-8 years ago, the YouTube fishing scene wasn't that big, and a lot of the stuff was it looked outdated at the time. And with my background in videography and editing, I thought I could kind of jump right into that. Well, lo and behold, I kind of went the different route. I should have went the YouTube route instantly 7 or 8 years ago, but I just got so thrown into learning about tournament bass fishing that was the direction I more or less went and put all my focus into. So I don't regret it. I really am enjoying doing everything with the tournament bass fishing scene and building two small businesses in this industry. But there are times where I would have wished I would have focused on the YouTube stuff like you're doing, Rich, and got into it when it was just kind of developing and really getting legs.
Yeah. But so two things before you get on too much time out before you go too much further. I agree. I wish I wouldn't have paused on the YouTube because that was a big faux pas by me. But the other thing is let's not skip over this rollerblading thing. So what is it? Because like when I picture professional rollerblading, I'm thinking like roller derby that I saw on Saturday morning where they were going around in an oval.
No.
Or was it like more like BMX type?
It's like skateboarding and BMX, but with rollerblades. So you're doing all the crazy stuff. You're grinding down rails. You're doing the half pipes. Doing the.
So it's basically rollerblade X Games type stuff.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Okay.
That's a lot exciting to think about than you like making the chains and like rollerblading and like throwing elbows, and that would be better. You should just go with that's a better story.
Yeah. Roller derby. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much a female sport. You'd think it would have been a male sport, but it's a female sport, and that's crazy that you see a bunch of girls beating each other around a track all day long. But Yeah, so it was a different type of transition for me from two different industries and two different sports. And I had two skate companies all those 16 years. I started my first skate company when I was 13 years old, making just apparel and t-shirts. And I did that company for about 15 years. And halfway through that point, I made an accessory company making wheels, ball bearings, protection gear. And I actually had more fun with that because every person can kind of make a t-shirt company or an apparel business, but it's harder to source and do molds and do a lot of prototyping and engineering. And that was a little bit more interesting to me at the time. And so when I got into fishing and saw that the tackle market was so big, I knew how to source that stuff overseas, and I knew how to design the packaging, and I knew how to build websites. So everything just came hand in hand. And since I like to build businesses around what I love to do, and I wasn't rollerblading anymore, and I liquidated those companies off, used that money to build Arsenal Fishing. So.
Well, they say the best way to make a small fortune in fishing is to start with a larger fortune. So,
well, unfortunately, it wasn't that big of a fortune, but it was enough to start the business and kind of get everything kind of rocking and rolling. But it was nice because I struggled every year in the rollerblade industry just to kind of break even every year. It was still nice because we got to tour around the United States, I went to Germany. I did a lot of things with rollerblading, and it was really fun. Got to be like a little rock star, but I never filled my pocket. It just got me to the next event, kind of like fishing is. But with fishing, when it came to the business side of things, I just started seeing that inventory and the interest in the sport was just way bigger than when the rollerblading industry was. Rollerblading was so niched where fishing is, the demographic is massive. It's a 5-year-old to a 90-year-old that dies in his boat, So, it's such a large demographic that when I was just sampling the industry the first couple of years, I was selling out of everything quarterly or bi-yearly. And I was like, well, this is something I kind of have to look into more and focus and try to build a business out of. And, we're at our 6-year mark with Arsenal right now. I started Arsenal Customs last year, and both of the companies are improving and growing. And it's all thanks to all you guys supporting me and supporting the brand and bringing it up to the next level. And I couldn't do it without you guys. So I appreciate all the help and the support.
Yeah. So shadow bassing's got interesting. So have you ever looking into reel bearings and marrying your past with your present?
I have. I actually was thinking about that recently because a lot of the bearings that are in the reels or in the reel arms, they're very close to rollerblade ball bearings, usually 8-ball bearing, and you can find smaller diameters with those bearings as well. So I've been looking into it, but I haven't invested any time or money into it yet. But that's a great question, and I'll probably be looking into it more, knowing that more and more people are kind of tinkering not only with their lures, but they're tinkering more with their rods and their reels and kind of fine tuning things and just making it as personal as possible. So,
yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, yeah, thanks guys. The people mentioned they watched BTL this morning. Thank you. That was a lot of fun. So I was on the BTL live show this morning with a few other guys, which was kind of fun. So,
nice.
So you got two companies that I guess just like you kind of touched on it. So you have Arsenal Fishing, right? And that's just fishing tackle. You got plastics, you got jigs, you got sinkers, you got some accessories, you got weigh-in bags, kind of a little bit of everything. And then Arsenal Customs is it mostly jerseys or is it apparel and jerseys or?
So it started out just doing custom jerseys, but this year I kind of opened it up a little bit more because I'm working with a lot of high schools and colleges and clubs, and as much as they want jerseys, they also want headwear, neck buffs, all different types of custom sports gear. So I kind of opened my door a little bit and dabbled with that with a couple of customers this year, and it showed a really positive response to the point where there's a lot of people kind of giving me a call for 2021 already based on some of the stuff that they've seen for other schools that I've done. So that's kind of growing, and I'm really excited to do more work with it. But since I'm just one-man show for both these companies, it's taken the toll that I have so much work, such a workflow ahead of me. But Arsenal Customs, I wasn't planning on doing it. I was just I had my old studio named Format Studios where I do web design, graphic design, logos for guys. Lately I've been designing boat wraps for some guys too. But it came down to the point where last year we had a really rough year with Arsenal Fishing, to the point where I didn't know if I was going to be keeping it going forward. And so I brought up Arsenal Customs the last year and a half, thinking that could kind of, alter the financial swing of things, hopefully get me back on, get some money back into my pocket so I can invest it back into Arsenal Fishing. Just there's a couple bad decisions with factories, and there's a couple things that happened with factories that, with quality control issues, that I just couldn't move forward with those factories. And I want to give the best products to my customers and my supporters. So I kind of slow rolled Arsenal Fishing last year and put more of my focus into Arsenal Customs and doing the jerseys. But with COVID happening this year, tackle sales just went through the roof, so I had to put a lot of my focus back into Arsenal Fishing this year. I solidified a lot of good things with my factories, made sure quality was at top notch, and turnaround times were peak. And right now things are moving the best they've ever moved with both companies. Like, I'm really excited for 2021 because I'm going to have to hire a couple part-timers. I think I'm going to be moving most of the inventory out of the house finally. I mean, I do everything out of my basement and my garage right now, but Omnia Fishing, Matt Johnson over there, and the guys, Chris and Matt, have been helping figure out an idea of fulfilling the company through Omnia for the upcoming year. Hopefully warehouse all the product out of Omnia Fishing. All of my orders will go out of Omnia as well. And that will just save a ton of time for me, so I can focus on getting into more retailers and doing R&D for new products and sampling and prototyping, and getting to travel a little bit more with the pro team and doing things that I want to do more on the sports side of the business. But it's always work before play with me. So right now I'm in crazy work mode this year, and my fishing has been scaled down dramatically, which has really been really upsetting this year. But like I said, I can't be able to do tournament fishing if I can't, pay the bills. And right now I'm doing everything I possibly can just to get to the next event and keep the businesses afloat. And I'm happy that, things are in a nice forward progression instead of a lull. So can't complain at the moment. Yeah. I just haven't been fishing as much as I want.
I'm never fishing as much as I want.
Well, even since I'm new to this, like my first couple of years, I mean, I threw myself in so hard, where guys were actually making fun of me, saying, "Hey, why are you fishing 35, 40 events a year and you just got into this? You're just donating your money, Dan. You're wasting it." And I was like, I don't see it as donating. I'm throwing myself in the deep end, learning to swim instantly, and I wanted to learn by trial by fire, while making small goals for myself. And I never walked in thinking I was going to win every derby, or think that I was the next, Seth Fighter, or Chris Lane, or whoever you want to, whoever you looked up to. I maintained being humble the first portion of me coming into fishing, because I knew I wasn't some slugger. And I'm where I'm at right now so quickly because of people that allow me to come into their boat. They help mentor me. And also just complete on-water time, like having my own business. I can make my own schedule, and therefore I'm fishing. Apart from this year, I was fishing 4 to 6 days a week, whether it was fun fishing, filming some YouTube stuff, or just doing product stuff, or going out and filming derbies. I just haven't been able to do any of that this year, and it's been so sad. The only filming I've been able to do is for Chad Grigsby's new TV show, The Tour Life, that we have on YouTube. Go check it out. But other than that, I haven't had any editing. I plan to do a ton with YouTube this year, and I'm falling short. But hopefully next year, when I have some help with the business, I'll have a little bit more time to film and edit and bring that YouTube channel back up to snuff. So
yeah, we talked about going out, but both of us, here we are, middle of September, and we haven't even come close to going out.
I know.
Answer a couple questions. Olsen Outdoor, should bass still be under docks this time of year because I crushed a bunch yesterday? The quick answer, yes, and it's probably only going to get better till mid-October, to be honest.
As the temperatures go down, those fish are going to start pulling up into shallow cover, so they'll probably hit those docks first before they really edge up to the shoreline, into the timber, into the bushes, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're definitely going to find some really good fish shallow under some docks, or even deeper docks right now. I would target the deeper docks right now, And then, once these colder temps steady out for the next week and a half, if they do steady out, that's when I would kind of pull up and do some more shallower flipping.
And I think honestly, it holds pretty true till about 48, 50 degrees, and then it starts going the other way. So as that to me, I think as the vegetation starts to drop, the hard cover turns on this time of year. In my mind, that's the way I see it. There's still going to be a deep bite. There's still going to be a grass bite, but the hard cover really turns on, the shallow hard cover. So, yeah, it's only going to get better also outdoors. MG's Garage, what's your biggest crappie? I think I caught one on Lake Fork that was like 17 3/4 inches while back. Yeah, it was I mean, I put my fist in its mouth. It was massive. So,
holy buckets.
Yeah. But my old man lives on Falcon now in the winter, and he catches fish like that. Like, he gets limits of those like all the time.
Yeah, I think my biggest, a 14-incher. And that's pretty damn big for me. So 17, that's huge, man. What was that, like a 2.5 pound?
Oh, it was probably over 3, like easy.
Wow, that's mountable.
Oh yeah, it definitely could have been. I just wasn't interested in mounting a crappie. Yeah, Olson, there's definitely fishing deep, but there's a misconception that in the fall there's a major rush of big bass to the shore. Now there are some out deep too. There's it's kind of splits, and you got to kind of be one way or the other. So yeah. Swim jig today. We can't catch fish on docks or look, but lay down substitute. Yeah, absolutely. As I say, any hard cover, whether it's overhanging trees, lay downs, docks, even pads this time of year can get really good as a hard cover. Bull rushes, things like that. A lot of those, it kind of depends on the lake and what they have. So, but so you're rigging. What are we rigging for, man?
What am I rigging right now?
Yeah.
Well, I just cut off like more of a weedless Ned.
No, I guess more like, what are you rigging for? You can tell us what you're rigging, but I guess why are you rigging, and then what are you rigging?
So I just got back from the Champions Tour, and before that, I had a couple other. We had the state tournament on whitefish. I went from whitefish. I had a couple of days, and I went up for a week of practice on Pokegama, and then we had the Derby for Champions Tour, and then I came home, and I'm rigging for the Green Lake Classic this Sunday on Green Lake in Spicer, Minnesota. It's a pretty big derby. Usually brings out 40 to 50 anglers. It's been going on for a very long time. Ever since I started fishing, I've been a part of this event. I really like it. The lake fishes well for me. The lake's just great. It's a numbers lake. It's fun. Like, if you want to bring a family member out there or someone that has never fished, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna always catch fish. Even on a hard day, you're catching 20 fish. Still on a hard day, you're boating 20 fish. So it's a really good numbers lake. It's hard to find the size, and that's what it makes it a fun tournament lake, because I like the harder lakes as a challenge. I don't know, to me, I like it when people are like, hey, the bite's a little rough right now, because then I feel like it's more everyone's game when you go out there, and you got to look for the good bite. And the guys that know how to find those good bites, those are the guys that you're usually going to see on top. So, but with this lake, it's normally it could be 14 pounds to win it, or 16 and a half. And the last couple of years, the lake's been doing better. And it looks like the last couple of years, it's 16, 17 pounds usually takes home the check. But, I usually go out there swinging for about 15 pounds, and I usually do pretty good. I won Club Derby out there. We had like 16 boats this year, and I had 16 pounds with a dead fish. So that took it for our club. And then I had the Classic a week later after that, and I brought in 11 pounds. So it's still a tough lake no matter what, but I definitely like to fish that lake. Just suits me.
It's been a while since I've been out there, and it'd be good to see it rebound a little bit, because I don't know, 6, 8, 10 years ago, it was a phenomenal. Like, it was a little tiny mille lacs, honestly.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That's what everyone used to say. It was a little mille lacs, but then it seemed that the walleye guys on that lake don't like the smallie guys on that lake. So the walleye guys have been killing off the smallmouth for years and years. and it's just starting to come back. Those bigger ones, those bigger smallies are starting to kind of grow and stick around, and they're getting a little bit more protected up there. So I'm pretty happy about it. But no, it used to be, you needed 4 good smallies and a largemouth kicker to win that derby. Now it's pretty much bring in all smallmouth and you're going to win the derby. So I've had some good showings on that lake. I feel like that's one of my more consecutive lakes where I can pull top 3s or top 5s.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm just rigging a lot of finesse stuff. Gonna rig some deep stuff.
Yeah. So
I had a weedless Ned head tied on from this past out on Pokegama, and I'm just kind of going to like an open hook Ned, just because there's not a lot of structure on this lake whatsoever. There's some rocks, but it's not like big boulder rocks. It's just scattered kind of gravel or chunk sized rock. You hardly ever get hung up on this lake, and there's not much vegetation left since they've been spraying the lake so much over the last 5 years. But there are some good defined patches, and when you find the patches, you find the fish. There's not, like I said, there's so much sand and muck out there that when you do find some type of structure, the fish hold to it. So it's getting a good rotation on that kind of structure on Derby Day, and hoping that your rotation is there before the other guy, so you catch the big one on the spot and then keep moving on
and land them.
And yeah, that's the big one. You have to land them, dude.
Yeah. So
we all say it. Oh, I missed a big one. I would have won. I would have cashed a check if I didn't miss that 4.5 pounder. It's like, yep, fishing clean is probably the biggest part of this sport and tournament fishing. Is you usually hear the guys that win, I fish clean today. Bingo. That's how you do well in this sport.
Yeah, I got some great video I'm editing right now of me getting my paw on a nice 3-pound plus smallie and starting to scoop it in the boat, and it flips the other way and it comes off and goes back in the lake. So you can look forward to that in my next video. Owen says he wants to break the 5-pound mark. What would be the best strategy? For me, whether you want to fish shallow or deep in Minnesota, lock a jig in your hand and fish that jig. You go out and put your days in and fish 1 or 2 days every weekend between now and the end of October and keep a jig in your hand and go to
get one.
Pounders, you get one.
No doubt.
Sycamore says your site has a lot of awesome products. I'm assuming he's talking about yours, Dan. Cool. We'll show that in a little bit. Just a reminder, guys, I see there's like over 30-some people already hanging out tonight. That's awesome. If you can that thumbs up, that helps us out and get some more eyes on the stream. Really appreciate that. Tin Horse.
Go ahead. Go subscribe to the Arsenal Fishing channel, guys. I know I don't have a lot of new content up, but the content that's up is pretty cool. Give it a shot. Give it a check out. And then also go find us on Facebook and Instagram, too. Our numbers are coming up, and a lot of good content we're about to update. I haven't been doing a lot of content, doing stuff, but I have a new social media manager lined up. So things will be popping off soon. Finally.
Nice. I'm gonna have to get introduced to this person. So Tin Horse Mice just caught his first fish on a Damiki stinger today. Have you fished them at all? And so, what are your thoughts? A little bit. I had to get some because you hear about Brian Thrift talking about them so damn much. I definitely have some in the boat. I fished them a little bit on like a jig worm type setup. Got some fish on it. Wasn't blown away. They're a little bit different than a boomstick or a dinger. But I'm not wowed by them by any means, but I think they're a good bait and they catch fish, but I don't think there's anything particularly amazing about them over other stick baits. Have you any thoughts, Dan, on the Damiki stinger?
No, I don't even know what the Damiki stinger is. Is it a hook or is it a soft plastic?
It's a stick bait. A Damiki, shorter and stubbier. Yeah, I might.
All right, so I didn't even know about it. So, are you using it more as a Damiki rig or as a Nico rig?
Let me see here. I have them. I don't know where they are. It's basically a slightly shorter, stubbier dinger or boomstick.
Okay.
Thrift throws them on shaky heads. He throws them on Ned rigs. He throws them on wacky rigs. If you listen to what Brian Thrift says he catches them on, he's always catching them on a stinger.
Okay. So it's just another stick bait.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit different. I mean, it does have a little bit of its own unique shape, a little more so than most of them. But yeah, I don't see anything groundbreaking about it. Bob, the Bash Nation Championship, it's on Pickwick, and it's in the middle of November. So what body of water and how well do you think you will do? Well, I am going to definitely shoot for the top 3 because the top 3 go to the Classic. So, I mean, that's the mindset. I'm confident that I can catch him down there. I mean, tournaments are always a crapshoot, but, there's current, there's smallies, there's largies, there's spots. I'm very familiar with fishing on the Mississippi River, so I think that'll serve me well. I've got some Tennessee Valley experience on Gunnersville and Southern Reservoir, so I'm definitely not intimidated by any means on Pickwick. I like Shadow's confidence. That's awesome. What's up, Alex Larson? Yeah, this is awesome. So we're already up to 40. Things are
hello everybody.
Moving along. Thanks everybody. Appreciate you guys are hitting the thumbs up and sharing. That's awesome. So you got this tournament coming up. You kind of mentioned you're coming off. I guess maybe just talk about the TLC. We both were on the bubble just outside. We both tournament, but neither one of us got it done. I still have hope that somebody will, I don't know, have a wedding or a funeral or something, and I can go. But you need like 3 people to kick the bucket. So
yeah, I know, dude. That one stung a lot. Like a lot of tournaments, you leave them and you ride home and you're all bitter, and then the next day you kind of get over it. But literally, the TOC is still stinging me. Just because I walked in, just like when I got on the team on Pokegama, I walked in like not thinking that I had any type of shot. Just because when I went up to Pokegama, I barely knew the lake. I only had 2 or 3 days of practice up there. Whitefish, I've been on the lake 3 or 4 times last year, and then I had the 3 days of practice this year. So very limited amount of time on those lakes. In practice, I was on nothing. I wanted to do a lot of deep stuff, so I spent the majority of my practices deep. And I was catching short fish in 12 inches every day on deep spots. So I knew that wouldn't do it. So I played the shallow game, TOC, it seemed that most of the guys in our club were still catching them shallow. So it just made sense to continue doing what I was doing. But it seemed that when I was practicing, a lot of people were in the bays and the areas or the lakes that I was fishing, but they weren't doing what I was fishing in practice. So it gave me confidence that I could rotate some spots and hopefully do pretty well. And that's what ended up happening. I mean, the only person that Andy Nichols and I, like, we didn't talk about anything, but we literally had the same exact gameplay. We were like running the same exact program. I think if Andy and I weren't running the same exact program, either of us would have probably had 15 to 17 pound days on day one at least. But we were taking each other's fish, and we both had high 13s or close to 14, both of us. But day 2, my program and his program were identical again. We kind of just rotated and reversed them. But I couldn't get those big bites because we were doing a dock and pad deal. And you have to think 100 guys already piss pounded all that stuff the first day. The likeliness of catching that same type of weight doing the same stuff is very unlikely. So yeah, it was a struggle going into about 1 o'clock on day 2. I had 3 fish, and I was just I had 3 fish, and I ran into Corey Brand. Actually, he had 0 fish, and I was like, what's going on? Like, this is even a tougher day. Ended up just getting out of my head and just fishing how I like to fish, and caught a couple fish, cleaned up a limit. And then right at the end of the day, I caught one like with 40 minutes to go right outside of Moonlight. And it was like I flipped it in the boat. I couldn't believe how I caught the fish. I flipped it in the boat. It was the head of a 4-pounder, the body of a 4-pounder. I literally look at the guy, hug my co-angler or non-boater. I was like, dude, that's the cut right there. I fucking made the cut. And then I go and weigh it, and it's 3.3. It's just skinny mini, but it was super big. It was like, it looked like a 4-pounder all day except for the weight. And I was like, that's Bubble Boy right there now. I'm going to go in. I'm going to be right under 12 pounds, and I'm going to be playing Bubble Boy because I knew going into day 2 in 8th place, I needed 12 to 12 and a half pounds to make the team. And sure enough, I was like right under 12 pounds, and I missed the team by 0.39 of an ounce. So not even a half an ounce, man. And like you were even lower than that. Like you were like 16.16 or 19 or something like that.
Yeah, I was 11.16, 2 ounces.
God, yeah.
If Kent could just drive a boat, I wouldn't be in this position. So, I spent my whole practice almost also fishing deep, but opposite of that, I wasn't getting many bites, but they were quality bites. And so I had a couple of deep spots where I could get a couple deep bites, but I didn't feel like I could guarantee myself getting 5 good bites. Like I could hit a couple, a bunch of spots in the morning and I could get a couple good ones, but I didn't know if I sat there all day, if I'd end up with 3 fish or 5 fish.
Yeah.
And then I would finish it off with docks each day. But
yeah.
Tinor, have you tried the Hayabusa Brush Easy heads? Yes, they're pretty good. They're a nice little, like a weedless Ned head. They're definitely pretty good. Fishing with felt, recent subscriber. If you don't use a fish finder on bigger lakes, would you strictly beat the bank or occasionally fish deep without knowing for sure what's on bottom? I guess I would, if I didn't have a fish finder, I would fish shallow. Not saying you can't be offshore. You could potentially find some shallower humps that top out with weeds or rocks or boulders that you can see. But I would stick to things that I could identify where I am, right? So I wouldn't necessarily just beat the bank, but I would fish mostly shallow where I could either where I'm at based on weeds topping out or a shoal that I can see or something like that. There's not much of an option to fish deep without some kind of electronics. Yeah, I mean, you don't need like a fish finder, but you'd at least need a flasher or something simple to be able to tell you where you are depth-wise. So.
And if you don't want to like get stuck beating the bank or just doing the shallow game because you don't have a fish finder and you can kind of sight fish, you can look at pads, you can look around docks, you can look around stumps. You can go deep if you don't have a fish finder. Just tie on something heavy, ½ ounce, 3/4 ounce, whatever, and just kind of fan cast out and start feeling the bottom and dragging. Or is this mud, muck? Is there weeds down there? Is this rock? And you can kind of gauge what you're kind of fishing and at what depth. You can kind of count it down too. And you might get lucky. I mean, if you're at least looking at a map, you can look at contour lines and say, hey, this looks like that it could be it's an inside turn. There might be some hard bottom there, or there might be some a grass line or a weed line there. So I mean, if you're deeper, you can still figure it out for sure.
You definitely need some kind of decent map to point you in the right direction. I wouldn't flail around out there. The other thing you can do, you can find points and things like that, and a lot of times
start shallow and come deeper.
Right. Like you could go and put yourself on the point, cast a Carolina rig out, fish it uphill, and feel like you have a pretty good chance of catching fish that way too. So,
there's a lot of times I fish points reverse, not deep to shallow, but shallow to deep. And I get more bites like that. Because I don't know why, but it depends on the wind direction normally for me. But
yeah. So another question, Brock Stender has a youth tournament next week on Tonka. Have any tips on where to fish and what shallow, deep docks? Honestly, next week, everything's still going to be in play. I would say do what you're comfortable with. You should be able to fish. I mean, there should still be fish on rocks. There'll be fish on weeds. There'll be fish on the pads. There'll be fish on docks. I'm going to fish tournament there next week, and I'll definitely just lock a jig in my hand and cover water probably on Sunday. So,
if I was out there right now too, it would be a jig or a tube craw and football jig on specific areas, and then a Ned and drop shot always usually do pretty well too. But if you're looking for those big bites, like Rich is saying, throw the jig.
Yeah, I mean, a frog probably still, like this time of year, a frog would be good out there.
Oh yeah, they'll still come and play.
Yep. Landon, he said it was on Crystal Lake tonight. Caught 3 out deeper. Bite seems to be picking up. Water was in the mid 60s. The bite should be picking up everywhere right now. It should be getting stronger until water temps in the mid 60s. It should be triggering them to really start feeding. And I'll say that bite will stay pretty strong until 50 to 52 on most of our lakes. So
I know we got into some questions. We can keep doing the question thing, but we didn't get into the end of TOC and Champ Tour.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Sycamore says he's setting up a Finesse he said, your finesse setup has been on medium heavy spin rods with straight fluoro. I don't know if he's talking about you or me, but all of my spinning rods are braid to fluoro. I don't know about you, Dan.
Almost every setup is braid to fluoro except a couple braid ones just for like dock skipping, or around rough pads and stuff where I need to really yank those fish out of cover. But yeah, almost everything's braid to fluoro. And
most of mine are medium light to mediums with braid to fluoro.
That's what I was just about to say too. I do have a two medium heavy spinning setups, but again, that's for like heavy tube jigs. Or if I'm really deep and I have a really like heavy Ned and I'm fishing like thick grass really deep and I really need to pop it out of the grass really deep and I need that extra backbone and the length of the rod. But no, yeah, typically everything's medium to medium light for all my spinning stuff.
Yeah. Fishing with JBT, asking about affordable glide baits. God, I don't remember the name of them. If you think about it, send me a DM and I'll find them and send them to you, JBT. So either send me a DM on Facebook or Instagram. Favorite drop shot bait? You got a favorite drop shot bait, Dan?
Ooh, you can't go wrong with a robo worm. Robo worms do. I mean, you can go anywhere with the damn robo worm and catch fish. So then there's the color choices are endless. So whatever color that you get confident with, that's what I just kind of run with. And if not that, I like to use those Berkeley leeches. There's specific situations, but I don't think a lot of guys throw those. And that is a forage, in a lot of lakes that people, tend to forget about. They keep thinking, oh, it's just a live leech, but that damn freaking Berkeley leech, picks up smallmouth left and right, man. It's nuts.
Yeah. I would say tiny tube.
Tiny tube. Yeah.
That's
I don't
2.5 inch tube.
Tiny tube enough. I did pull one out to put on my drop shot today. Yeah, here, a little Strike King coffee tube.
Yeah.
I think this might be a 2 3/4 or a 3-inch, but yeah, just nose hook that little guy and you're good to go.
Yeah. Luke Peterson wants to know what the secret to Farm Island Lake is. I'm guessing he's talking to you.
Luke Peterson. I'm sorry, there's no tips and tricks before the state or the club championship, my friend. We got our club 2-day championship on Bay Lake and Farm Island next week.
Those can be fun lakes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on fishing topwater baits or open water smallies? What is your confidence bait, walking baits or chugging baits? He says he had a lot of success on the chug bug. For me, the two that I throw are the Reaction Innovations Vixen and Baby Vixen in bone. I also will throw the Evergreen Shower Blow in bone. And then for a chugger, I throw the Yellow Magic in bone, the big one, the 1/2 ounce. That's pretty much the 3 baits I throw.
And for me, I'm very confident with a Rebel Pop-R in both sizes, the junior size and the regular size. I typically don't do that Magnum size, but the regular size and the junior size, depending on the bite and the situation. I throw the bone color a lot or the baby bass color a lot. And I haven't, that's bait and a buzz bait. I'm confident with the buzz bait, but I haven't thrown the buzz bait that much this year. I just haven't thrown the top water in general that much this year.
Yeah, nice.
Haven't been able to get out as much because I'm so busy with the company.
Yeah, it was worth a shot, Luke. You gave it a shot.
That's just messing.
You ever fished a free rig? I have not. I've got some weights that I'm on order that I would think would be really good for the free rig, but I haven't messed around with it. Have you played around with the free rig? I'm guessing you have it based on your schedule this year. Do you know what the free rig is, Dan?
No, I don't. What is the free rig?
The free rig, basically you use a drop shot style weight with a loop on the top instead of a pinch. Like just then you basically just slide it, like you slide your line through the loop and then you just tie on a hook and a bait. So it's like a free range Carolina rig so when your bait hits, the sinker goes straight down and the bait like
float. Yeah, okay. It's still on the line on the ring, but it just comes down very slow to the sinker.
Yeah. So it's like a Carolina rig without a connection and no stop. And so I don't know. It's Shin Fuquet and a few others talked about it quite a bit.
Well, I guess the Arsenal's going to have to make the ring style drop shot weights now.
Fish with 6.8 Kitex, 10 beast hooks next week, next weather, and he ends up using big swim baits. Yeah, I would just say weed flats. This time of year, I would cover flats with those bigger swim baits, beast hook weighted. Just start, move up. Gaff would be the guy. He likes to throw those big Kitex with beast hooks. But anywhere you throw a chatterbait or a spinnerbait, you can do the same thing with those bigger swim baits this time of year. All right, so we're caught up on the questions. So people can, and we're up to almost 50 now. So, so yeah, we both just missed the TOC on whitefish.
Yeah. So it's not that I made bad decisions. I just kind of didn't have anything going day 2 that would grant me big fish. I caught a big fish right at the buzzer basically, but it was a skinny mini, so it made me bubble boy. I came in 13th. You came in 11th. We both missed the team by not even a half an ounce or ounces. So it's unfortunate, but you got to move on, press on. Hopefully, in your case, since you're 11th, someone drops out or can't make it, and you can still make regionals. So good luck on that one. But that one kicked me in the balls real hard, and then. So
I'm praying for a crappy destination like Indiana or Ohio, because if it goes somewhere place cool, there's no way anybody drops out. But if it's a terrible place, then I got a chance.
Okay. So that's how that works, right? But yeah, I got back from TOC and I had like 2 days to do like 2 weeks of work, and I don't know how, but I got like half of it done, and then I had to get back. I had to go drive to the river. Was it the river? No, it was right to Pekagama. It's Champions Tour in Pekagama. I spent a week up there practicing, and then we had the Derby up there. And so going up to there, this year I didn't have quite the year I've had. Like last year, I didn't.
Vermilion. We went to Vermilion, right?
We went to Vermilion, the Mississippi River Pool 4, and Pekagama, and then the championship, if you made it, was on Trout Lake nearby up in Pekagama. So, last year I was kind of mid-pack, like every event. I was just outside of check range every time last year. I made the championship. I cashed one check at La Hamadou, biggest mover award. I was in last place, and I popped up 45 pounds or so and got right under the check line. But, I made some mistakes last year that enabled me to cash some checks on Leech. I flipped a 4-pounder in first cast right before, 2 minutes too early before the line's in. So that fish didn't count, and then that ended up being 10 spots in the standings that day. That 4-pound.
So, before we dig into the Champions Tour too much, for the people that may know, so the Champions Tour is a circuit in Minnesota that's probably on its 5th year now, give or take, 4th or 5th, led by Classic Bass, Scott Bonema, and it's ranged anywhere from 25 to 50 boat fields. It's a kind of a pro-only MLF-style tournament. You have an observer in your boat. It's an every fish counts. It's the whole first half, second half. Divide the lake. You fish usually one half and not the other half in the afternoon. Fairly big money investment to get in. Entry fees are steep at $1,000. There is decent paybacks if you make it. It's $12,000 to win, I think, this year. And then they have a championship, which is also an entry fee championship, right?
It was free entry this year to the championship.
So that was new. In the past years, it was a entry fee.
Yeah, it was always $500 for the championship, but this year they made it free.
Okay, that's a move in the right direction.
Yep.
And I guess practice is pretty much there's no off limits on practice, and then the info sharing only cuts off like a couple days before the tournament.
Yeah, the info sharing actually cuts off like the night before at the meeting when they give you the score of the lake, which I don't agree with. Like that's one thing I kind of wish they would change the rules on. I thought when they were making some big rule changes for this season, I thought that was going to be one of them, but unfortunately it wasn't. So we won't get into that.
Yeah. I definitely like a lot of things about the Classic Bass, but there's a couple things as a guy that doesn't have unlimited PTO and has to pick and choose what he's going to do. In an every fish counts tournament, it's pretty difficult to roll in on a day and a half or 2 days of practice and be competitive consistently, in my opinion. And then the fact that there's no cap on tournament practice or info sharing just kind of leads me like where I'm at in my life. I don't have a week for each tournament. Yep. So that kind of leaves me out right now. I gave my feedback. That doesn't mean what they're doing is right or wrong. It's just not a fit for me at this point. So, but
I think a lot of all this stuff, again, this is only like the 4th year of it, and every year they're fine tuning it and working the gears out, and it's not going to fit everybody's style. So, you lose some, you win some every single year. But last year we kind of always had around 40 guys on the tour. This year we capped at 48 guys every single event. So we're finally getting the numbers that we wanted from the start. And I think next year it's going to definitely, I think there's already a waiting list started for next year. So it depends on how many guys this year, are going to continue on and continue to fish. But it used to be an invite only situation, and then kind of outgrew that because there was 25 guys on an invite basis. And then they wanted to expand the field just to bring in some more money into and exposure to these anglers in our region. And so when they amped it up to about 40, 50 2 years ago, it was still hard to find those 50 guys that wanted to put $1,000 down and had the week or week and a half to spend on tour. So it was harder to fill out. But I think with this year, with COVID or the pandemic or whatever you want to call about it, there was guys that just needed to get out of the house and they had some free time and some extra money. So they were able to hop on tour this year and join up. Also, they put the river in the schedule, which opened up a lot of river rat kind of guys to kind of join the tour too. And because they felt that they had a big opportunity to win or cash out at the river. So there was a lot of different little things that happened this year that made Champion Tour, I think, shine. But it was definitely on a different pace this year. But I think also having the $12,000 first place, they upgraded the boat for the championship win. The pay scale was a little bit shorter. It wasn't to like 15, 16. It was only up to 13 every event this year. But even the bottom guy won $1,500, so you're getting your entry back plus some, which was a huge deal for a lot of guys to stick around the tour. So but yeah.
Obviously you did not have the season you wanted to have.
No.
I think you said did you cash any checks? Or you just
this year I didn't do too hot. We had our first event on Vermilion. We had 48 or 49 guys for that one. I was on fire in practice. We all say it. We're all catching them in practice. We're all having a good time. I had my rotations every day, both deep and shallow, were paying off. I wasn't piss pounding my spots. I knew I was leaving fish around in practice, but I felt confident. I felt like, hey, I could top 10 this event, no doubt. But I was catching all big fish in practice. It's typical Fabiano move in Champion Tour practice, catching all the big ones in practice and not finding those big ones game day. But that's what happened. I just the split actually. What happened for Vermilion for me? What the split and my boat number weren't in favor for what I wanted to do. So it didn't necessarily spin me out, but it made me have to reassess my gameplay like the night before. So it kind of made me make a bad decision. I had 2 starting spots. One was, a strip of docks, and I knew fishing the docks in the morning was a gamble, but I tried it some practice mornings and I still ended up having a lot of success. So I was like, do I go and get this strip of docks? And if I get it all alone, I have a good opportunity to bump up the standings really quick. Or I had this island with some shoreline that was just in practice. I would go at 20 feet and catch a 3-pounder every 20 feet. And it was amazing. And I was like, wow, this is a tremendous spot. So I didn't know which one to start out with. I ended up going to the docks in the first morning. And that was the bad decision because an hour and a half later, I'm seeing Jacob Novak just beat up the standings. And then I'm like, okay, I'm running to my second spot. Sure enough, who's on my second spot but Jacob Novak? And got the camera boats around him. And he's literally sitting in first place with like 44 pounds. And we actually, he was at the end of the island. I was at one end. We kind of met in the middle. And I just asked him, I was like, have you been here the whole time? He's like, I've been literally going back and forth this entire time. And they're just here. And I'm like, oh man, and that's a decision. I messed up on that decision and it costed me 40 pounds possibly. Would I have caught the same fish as Jacob? I have no idea. But it was a hot area, good target strike zone, and the decision making that I did, led me to have a very low tournament. I came in 34th out of like 48, so very far from a check and bad points, So I wasn't happy about Vermilion when I had the confidence going in there. And then going into the river, I only had I've only fished the river in the spring, not even like Winona. I've only been down to Winona a couple times, but pretty much all that Wabasha area and Pool 4, a little bit of Pool 4. I had some experience, but in the spring, and I like fishing down there in the spring. But man, with the water being low this year, it was very hard to get into backwater areas. I didn't want to ruin my boat, and I'm trying to sell it, so I was trying to be careful about what I was doing. And there's a lot of growth a lot of vegetation growth in that backwater areas where you normally run in the spring, and you can't even run that now in the July or August time. So it was difficult. I couldn't get on anything. I had very low experience with Pepin, the main lake. So I put a lot of my practice in on Pepin, and we were staying all together. Like pretty much all the Arsenal guys were in one house. So we were at least trying to dial each one in on bites because they were so hard to find. Like every guy would come home every night and be like, yeah, I caught 10 fish and 3 were keepers, or I caught 2 keepers a day and that's it, or I caught a bunch of walleye. And that's how it was. You had guys running up on you on practice. Like I had Figgy run up on me, and he's like, I can't even catch him. Well, and then look what happens. He found a school and caught 70 pounds in the first little period there. So it just goes to show you never know what you're going to run into on tour, and how the fish move and reorient depending on the day, depending on the conditions, all that kind of stuff. So the river wasn't my favorite too.
And sandbaggers. So they're all liars and sandbaggers.
But the river wasn't in my favor too. I came in 31st in that event, so not ideal. Out of a check again, not bad points. So I don't know. I was sitting pretty crappy going into our last event. We usually have 4 events. We only had 3 events this year.
Dan, how many days of practice did you put in for each event?
Vermilion, I think I put in 4. I would have put in 5, but I had some engine trouble, so I had to work on the boat one day. So I had 4 days on Vermilion. I had 4 days on the river, and I think I had 4 or 5 days on Pokegama.
Okay.
But not all those days I'm fishing. There's a lot of days where I'm just scanning or looking around or figuring out running times or idle times and stuff like that. Just trying to figure out some type of gameplay and then put the puzzle pieces together every single day. And the biggest thing, I saw you post about it the other day, is eliminating water. That's the big one. Just figuring out, hey, I don't even have to touch this side of the lake or this corner of the lake. It's just not working for me. I have confidence in other areas, and if I can just rotate or go through those areas again, I have the confidence that the fish are there at least. So yeah, eliminating water is huge.
What's up, Sean? What's up, Punch Fishing? So then you roll into Pokemon. This is where you're going to make your big comeback.
So yeah, I mean, going into Pokegama, everyone was telling me you need a top 15 in points to be able to probably swing into the championship. Even a top 15 is really flirting with the bubble line, but do better than top 15 and you're going to make it, Dan. So I came into Pokegama because I like Pokegama. Pokegama fishes how I like to fish too. So I had a lot of confidence going in. My practices were all pretty average, but in terms of volume of fish, I couldn't. We're always looking for those schools of fish, but everyone was kind of saying the same thing. I can't find them deep. This cold front coming through and all this rain, it's just kind of making them skittish, or really you could see them deep everywhere, but they just weren't biting. And no matter what you threw at them, you could sit on a hump for 3 hours, throw the kitchen sink, and you still wouldn't catch anything. So, I mean, the main bite for the deal was shallow. Even though Noah won when he went out deep and caught all those smallies in the second period and won, it took in that big deep gamble, which was the things you have to do to take those big gambles to win. But yeah, Pokegama ended up practice. It was weird. I was catching for my biggest 5 every day around 19 pounds. It was unreal. I was catching a 5-pounder every day in big 4s, and it was just, I was on them. And I felt confident that I was going to do a top 10. And sure enough, everything changed with the wind. Kind of changed a little bit for tournament day. It was supposed to be stronger than it was, even though it was really bad. It was like 25, it was gusts up to 35. There was 5 foot, 4 foot rollers out there. I didn't play in it, but there were some guys that did play in it. But game day, I took a gamble. That's what I did, and I was boat 28 mid pack. That sucks because even if you reverse the order on after lunch, I'm still kind of in that middle pack at that number. So again, I didn't get the boat draw that I kind of wanted, but it kind of worked out in my favor because I wasn't planning on fishing the Jay Gould Bridge, but I watched every boat not go up there. And I just couldn't believe it. Like, that wasn't my game plan at all, but I'm watching every boat and no one's going up the river. And I see one boat go to the mouth of the river and sit there and wait for lines in. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to go up river. So I go up the river and I get the bridge. And sure enough, with the lake cut this year, the river was split down the middle. So basically the middle pylon of the bridge, and then just make a line all the way down the middle of the bridge, then a middle down the Tioga, down the islands. It was a very weird split this year. And so they said each period you get to fish one side of the bridge depending on which side you start on. We got to select which side of the split we got to start on too. So I selected a side that I felt that no one was going to select in the morning because the wind was going to be piss pounding it in the morning. And I thought guys were going to want to get out of the wind. And the one side had a lot more water to cover. And that first side in the morning had very little water to cover. It was just pretty much mainly docks and shoreline and not a lot of deep spots in play. So I think I made the right choice because not a lot of people picked that east side. And I did. And then I went up river. And then I sat there in the morning, and right before I made my lines in, I called Paul just to make sure I didn't do anything wrong. And he told me, hey, you can fish the side that you picked. And then I heard Scott in the background go, or you can fish the entire bridge for one period, but you can't go back there second period. I go, I'm fishing the damn bridge right now. I'm up here, I'm fishing it. So I fished it, and it wasn't like practice. It was kind of fun in practice. I caught a lot of fish on it. A lot of different variety of fish too. It's pretty cool. But I only caught two on each side of the bridge in the morning. So I got up there quick while it was a very difficult bite for everyone. It was a very big cold front that morning. We had hardcore thunder and lightning storms the night before. So the bite was it was off. And those first 4 fish kept me in like that top 8 for the first half an hour, 45 minutes. I left that bridge and then I took my swim jig. It's kind of like my bread and butter, what I use the most. I know how to use the swim jig very well. And I went around that first corner of the bridge, and I was just picking off bass left and right. And they were all at least 2 pounds, which is great. You're not pulling in 1 pound dinkers. I was at least kind of going up the standings a little bit quicker than I normally do. And it was crazy. They were hungry. They were following it out of the pads. Like, I would be rolling it over the tops of pads, letting it fall in some holes. And they would come to the hard edge, and you would see that the pads move, and they would swim out of the pads and basically come up to the boat and eat it at the boat. So I was basically just setting the hook at the boat and flipping them in the boat. It was crazy. And I went down that whole river stretch for the first whole period, went back and forth. Camera boats were with me for like 2 hours, and I didn't even know, but I ended up being in first place for a couple hours and with like 25 pounds. And I ended up going into lunch with like 25 or 26 pounds. And I was in third place going into lunch. So that was pretty cool. And I had some confidence going into that I was going to do a top 10, and just didn't work out. I just dropped the ball. Like, I made a bad decision again. And that decision was, I had the other side of the river I could have fished, but the sun came out during lunch and it was getting warm out. And so I figured that some of my dock strips were going to go. So I made that choice to go to some dock strips that were pretty far away. And I just kept catching 15 ouncer, like right under a pound, because pounds, you count your fish now. It's not 12 inches anymore. It's a pound. And so I caught like 6 or 7 fish that were at 14, 15 ounces, and it just ruined me, man. It kind of spun me out. I couldn't believe it was happening. And then I ran back to the river, and sure enough, I get in the river, and there's already like 3 or 4 guys in there, and that's where Connor came up the board, and he flipped inside where I was going to start initially, and he went up that whole stretch and put in like 30 pounds up there doing that. And it was just because of that I made that choice in the morning, not only just because I didn't see anyone go up the river, but the storm affected the lake fish for sure. And those river fish, they're feistier, they're different. They have current. Because of the current, they're a little bit more distracted, I feel, than those lake fish. So they just were ready to eat and eager to eat. And I should have just stuck it out, because I know if I would have just flipped that whole thing, period 2, I probably would have been top 5, top 3.
Sure.
No doubt in my mind. And I made a bad call. Ended up coming in 14th spot. They paid down 13 spots, so I missed a check by 1 spot. And then I came in, I think, 26th or 27th in the AOI standings, and top 24 made championship. So huge freaking kick in the nuts again this year, just being bubble boy all year. And that's because my head's not been completely screwed on this year, just because of everything that's happened in our world, and the business is kind of taking over my life right now. So, and that's important to me. If I'm going to have this big momentum and growth in the business, I'm going to make sure I put all my focus into that right now. But hopefully in 21, I'll have some help with the company, so I can put my focus cap back on and get to slugging it out with you guys again, and trying to take some money away from you guys.
So do you think you're for sure in next year, or wait and see what the schedule looks like, or what are your thoughts about that?
For Champion Tour?
Yeah.
It's probably 80-20. I'm probably 80% going to do it again, just because I've done it the last 2.5 years. Last year we're full time, and then the year before, when it was I got invited to one of the events. I'm probably going to do it. It's the biggest thing we got going for us in our state, $60,000 boat for championship, $12,000 first place, top 5 payout pretty damn well. If you get top 10, you're getting your money back plus some. So it's definitely worth it. I like the format. It's totally, I fish a lot of 5-fish derbies, so it's nice to have something different and refreshing. And it's a totally different pace, and your adrenaline kicks in, and you have to make completely different choices and decisions than you would in a 5-fish derby. So fishing's a mental game, and this is like another mental puzzle, and it's fun to play this new different puzzle, So I recommend it for a lot of people. If you got the money and the time, and you want to try to win some good money, come join the Champions Tour. But I have a feeling they're going to stop making it open to the public. This is just my perception. It's nothing I know or anything, but I think they're going to go back to invite only, because it's starting to become a little bit prestigious again. We're getting close to filling the field, and they want to round it off with the best caliber of anglers in our state. I really believe that, or in our region. They're pulling guys from Indiana and Illinois now, and Iowa and the Dakotas. So we have a bunch of FLW boys. Chad Grigsby joining this year. We got Matt Steffen, Jim Moyna. So there's some big names. There's Mark Courts too in here. A lot of good talent on tour, and I think it's just going to progress over the years. And what they'll probably do is they'll always invite the guys that have been on the tour previously, and then kind of go down that chain. And if they can't fill it from previous anglers, then they'll open it up to the public. So. But I definitely recommend, guys, if you're going to do something different and you want to take a gamble to actually win some of the best money at Champ Tours, where to look. Go to classicbass.com and check it out, guys.
Yeah. I do feel like it does seem like over the past couple of years, it's a lot of the same guys that are making hay. So I don't know if they just got it figured out, how to attack it, how to practice, how to set it up, but definitely, there are definitely guys that are profiting, and then there are guys that are learning hard lessons in the Champions Tour.
Oh yeah, but some of these guys that have been big winners have been guides on the lake on these lakes for many years. Some of these guys have 10, 20, 30 years experience. You got guys like Jared Linder last year that was on tour, with the Al Linder family. You got Dean Capra. You got some legendary names in the state where these guys have been fishing with their fathers, their grandfathers, their great-grandfathers on these lakes. And so even if you don't fish history, you still have experience on those bodies of water, and is a huge thing in this game, especially with this year when we had the championship was no entry champion fish, no practice champion fish, and they didn't let you know it until after the last third event. So if you made it the cut, then they told you where the lake was. So it was no one could practice on it. But what was happening was, since everyone knew the championship lake had to be in the vicinity of Pokegama, there are some guys that already have enough experience out on Pokegama. They didn't even practice Pokegama all week. All they did was hop around to all the lakes up north and test them all out just in case one of those lakes was picked. They had a day of practice out there, so they weren't running around scanning or running around looking for prime time, high target, high volume areas. So,
yeah. Somebody asked me where I thought it was, and I said I thought it was going to be on trout.
Yep, well, you were right.
I was like, it's big enough, it's good fishing, it's close enough, it's got a nice park on the north end. I know Scott's been there to MC a junior tournament that I did, so I was like, that's where it's going to be. So Sean, he's talking about the Classic Bass Champions Tour. It's a MLS style tour in Minnesota. So Sean wants to know what do you do for work business? So why don't you recap, and then we'll maybe talk about some of that stuff a little more in depth.
So what I do is I run Arsenal Fishing and Arsenal Customs. Arsenal Fishing is a tackle and accessory company for bass fishermen and any type of tournament fishermen. And Arsenal Customs, what I do with Arsenal Customs is make tournament jerseys and custom headwear and sports apparel for high school teams, fishing clubs, racers, drift racers, you name it. Anyone that needs some custom apparel, I'm going to start doing it for them. And that's pretty much my day job. I grew up being a graphic designer. I do a lot of video editing. I grew up a professional rollerblader, which then turned into Arsenal Fishing and this fishing career, if you want to call it. I might be on the Classic Bass Champions Pro Tour, but I don't consider myself a professional. I don't win professional money right now by any means. I have sponsors that definitely help me out with free product and money and monetary compensation to help me get to my next event, and I really support and appreciate them. I have done decently over the last couple of years, trying to make my mark and make a name for myself and try to win some cash, but it comes with experience and it comes with a lot of on-water time. But yep, that's what I do for my business and life.
I will say this right here. Like if you throw Senkos, you throw Sean says I got 3 of these. Like I got one of these from Dan. We were down at Gunnersville 2 years ago, and this has saved me a lot of money. And I've actually got I don't even like throwing Senkos. But what I do got a box all set up with Nico, and I got all 3 sizes of my bands all labeled for my different size worms and my little tool. So that's definitely, it kicks the O-rings right in the teeth. It's better. I mean, so.
Oh, yeah. And
definitely got to.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's I make a tool called Wacky Nico Tube Plier. And basically it's a tool that you put a silicone band around the nose of this and you expand the tool and you can put a worm of any size through, and there's different size bands from 4 millimeter all the way up to 8 millimeter, and they fit all different types of stick baits or soft plastics that you want to, save them. Like a Senko, for instance, if you use a regular O-ring band, or if you don't use any type of ring, period, you're probably going to get 1 or 2 fish if you're lucky, per Senko, per stick bait. And this tool and the silicone bands that go with it, you're going to save a lot of soft plastics doing this. Like where you normally go through 2 to 3 bags of Senkos a day, you're not even going to go through a whole bag of Senkos in one day now, because these tubes literally keep the Senko on your fishing line and decrease the chances of it ripping, because there's more surface area on the silicone band than an O-ring. So if you want to save some money on your Senko fishing or your stick bait fishing, I highly recommend you go to the website, arsenalfishing.com. They actually might say sold out right now. I'm sorry. They literally just got back in stock today. I got a whole bunch of inventory today, guys. We got the tools back in stock today. We got 7mm and the 6mm tubes that are the high sellers back in stock today. Mesh way bags are in stock today. All the blackout tungsten, all the new series of the blackout non-chip stamped size tungsten is all available on the website right now. It's going very fast though, because a lot of retailers figured out everything came in stock and they just bled me dry almost in 24 hours. So hopefully there's some stock left on the website for you boys and girls. And,
and if you the pliers are also at Omnia Fishing, so if you want a discount, you can use Rich Lindgren 15 at Omnia Fishing to grab those pliers too. So, Dan's site's got a bunch of cool stuff. I think another product that I haven't used a ton. He's got pretty good. Here's a good diagram of how to use the. Oops, I didn't bring it up here. Yeah. So here you go. There's a quick diagram actually on his website. It shows you how you slip that band over. And these are a couple different ways you can hook it the way they show. I like actually turning it 90 and go through both walls of the tube with my hook on my VM.
Yeah, so I can show one right now.
Yeah.
I can try to do that.
The other thing I like is this guy right here, the Tactical Minnow.
Yep.
I love those for my bladed jigs.
Yes.
That's probably what I found them to be the best for me.
Yep. And I'm not just saying that because it's my company and it's my minnow, but for whatever reason, I've tried so many different craw trailers. I used to use Yamamoto swimmers on the back, Kitech swimmers. But the thing is, you already got such a big vibration on the front blade of the chatterbait. You don't need the big thump in the back. It's almost like there's too much vibration and movement. I mean, guys are still cracking them on doing that stuff, but I think with the Tactical Minnow, it's a more finesse swim bait, so it has more of a shimmer with the smaller paddle tail that it gives more of a realistic swim in the back of the chatterbait while you still get that vibration and the thump in the front. And
so to me, it's a nice compromise. Like it's a super tiny, subtle, flimsy paddle tail. Like it does have a kick on its own, but it doesn't have enough to overpower your bladed jig. And I think that's what it's almost more like a fluke than a paddle tail. It's like a fluke with just a little bit of paddle tail.
Agreed.
And I think to me, what makes sense. So if you know anything about archery, right? Or ballistics or shooting a gun, like you have like spin or rifling, or you have fletchings on your arrows. Fletchings are arrows fly straight, right? The drag of the fletchings keeps your arrow going straight. If you don't have fletchings on your arrow, they go like this. Well, you know what that is? That's hunting. So the less drag you have on your chatterbait trailer, the more likely your chatterbait will hunt. And I know you guys hear about hunting baits, hunting crankbaits, hunting things. Reduce a fluke, an Arsenal Tactical Minnow, Zako to some degree, but the less drag, get away from the boot tails, get away from the flappy things. You want something that doesn't overpower it, and that will let your chatterbait hunt more, and you'll get more bites.
Yep. And if guys are wondering too, the Tactical Minnow comes in 3 sizes: 3-inch, 3.5, and 4.5. I use the 4.5-inch on my swim jigs and my Tactical Minnows, my swim jigs and chatterbaits. Excuse me. For the chatterbaits, I'll use the whole thing and rig it up because those chatterbait hooks are pretty long. But on some of the swim jigs that I use, I'll usually bite off like a 1/4 inch of the 4.5-inch Tactical Minnow and put it on my swim jig.
Yeah, I was throwing, when I'm fishing largies, I'm throwing that regular size one, but on vermilion, I was throwing that, I think it was a 3.5.
Yeah, that's a 3.5.
So I was putting that on the back of for smallies, and then I throw the bigger one when I'm around largies typically.
Well, you can't lose those pliers, bud.
Yeah, well, or keep getting them. You have one in this bag, one in your boat, one in your truck, one in your. Sean wants to know: is there an Arsenal discount code out there for the people? Nope, he froze up. An Arsenal code, and Dan froze up. Weird.
I can get on my computer here in a little bit. It's not working. Shit. I'll try to get one before we get off.
All right. If not, I'll you can send it to me, Dan. I'll pin it in a comment or put it in the description so people can look at it later. Punch Fish and always talking about that JDM stuff nobody can find or buy for soft plastics. What are your thoughts on development electronics? Harder to compete with these expensive units. You know, I don't think. I mean, I think a lot of people see guys like Jacob Wheeler and they see pros with all these units, and they think, man, that's why they're catching them. But does it help them catch them? Yes. Could they catch them without them? Yes. So I mean, like, I think it's incremental. You put Jacob Wheeler out there with a couple, you know, HGS 10 on the back and front, and he's probably still going to kick everybody's butt, to be honest. I mean, I've got a 958 on the front of my boat, like an old school Hummingbird, and I still catch them pretty darn good, and I've had a lot of success in tournaments. So I have one Helix on my dash, 900 series on my dash, and a 900 series up front. So I think there's, you know, for every guy that you see or gal or angler that you see that has 4 big units on their boat and they catch them or do well in tournaments, there's another 8 or 9 guys that have 4 big giant electronics with live scope or 360 that don't do a darn in tournaments. So to me, it's still about finding fish. It's still about catching fish. It's still about time on the water. Those units can help you a little bit, but they're not the difference between hero and zero. I mean, I'm always, you know, I might put a Helix on the front of my boat this year because my 900 stopped networking with my other units because it's old. But like I said, it's not a crutch. Spending $8,000 on electronics and fancy units are not going to turn you into Jacob Wheeler. You still got to put the work in and do the time.
Sorry, guys. I had to leave for a second. Phone was down.
Got yourself a charger now?
Yep, had to go run inside, get the charger.
So that's my thought. I mean, electronics are nice, but I think a lot of people get too dependent on them. And I think a lot of people think if they spend $15,000 on electronics, they're going to be awesome. And that's not the case.
I agree. Hardcore.
And if they don't work and somebody used their heading sensor down in Gunnersville to get all spun out when it doesn't work. So
there's a guy in our state. He's probably one of the best dock anglers in the entire state, Arnold Helgerson. Dude didn't have shit for graphs all the way until last year, and that guy was checking out pretty much every event for seems like. And now, just because he's in the Champions Tour and needs to, you know, battle it out and find school, that's the reason why I started putting that format.
Dan, your connection is getting a little rough. You are locking up. So Sean, fall lure lineup. To me, a jig, a chatterbait, buzzbait for a while, maybe a frog while it's warm, but a jig and a bladed jig are going to be key for me most of the fall. Those are my go-tos. Oh boy. Dan, I'm going to take you out of the stream, and then you can try to come back in. Usually that fixes the choppiness, so hopefully you can hear that. So, yeah, Dan needs to pay his Wi-Fi bill, so I'm just going to – attributes for successful anglers. I think time on the water, and it's mental toughness and decision making. Let me just text him. All right, he's back. Let's see. You better?
Can you guys hear me again?
Much better. So sometimes these things get a little wonky. You just gotta bring them back in. So, what do you think is the attribute of successful tournament anglers? And I was going on saying that time on the water helps. Staying in tune with the fish, being on the water regularly helps, in my opinion. Even if it's not the water you're going to fish, being on the water quite a bit, so you're kind of got a feel. Like it's just like anything. Like you're a professional baseball player and you take 3 months off and don't swing a bat, you're going to be rusty. So just being on the water, being consistent.
Yep, being consistent's huge because especially when you get into these bigger derbies where you have 2-3 day derbies, if you can be a consistent angler and always get those low teens or mid-teen bags, that's going to make you, excel in those bigger tournaments and stuff like that. But I think consistency is huge in this sport.
Yeah, and mental toughness is huge. Like when you lose a fish, you can't get spun out. When your boat, like the live well pumps or the bilge or the depth finder is not doing what you want it to do or whatever, your battery goes dead. Like you got to be prepared. You have a jump box, you have cables, you fix it, you move on. Like you can't let that stuff just like completely derail your day. There's going to be adversity, and it's how you deal with the adversity is what makes you a good tournament angler.
Exactly. Because spinning out, I've seen this guy spin out in the first spot of the morning just because their fish weren't there, and then now they feel like they're not going to have the day that they hoped and dreamed for. It's like, well, those fish could have moved 50 yards up this stretch. You never know. Just keep your head on tight and keep going and grinding and pressing it out. I mean, most of my best top finishes were because I caught a good fish on the last cast of the day, or I made that adjustment in the last 30 minutes of the day and found all the fish that I needed that made my bag. So never the whole Ike quote, you never give up. I mean, it's true in this sport. We'll say it over and over again, but having a good attitude on the water till the very last moment of the day, that usually helps you gain more bites and just be, have more success on the water.
Yeah, a good start's always nice, but over time, it's more how you finish than you start in tournaments.
Exactly.
So Sean asked, did any of you guys co-angle before jumping into boater? Yeah, when I was younger, I fished a lot as a non-boater in club tournaments, and I entered a few Silverado Pro-Ams and did a little bit of that while coming up. Like I would typically co at a level and boat at a level and then co at a level higher and kind of move up when I was younger. And Dan's frozen again. So we have never had this much issue. Dan needs to pay for his internet at his house. Yeah, having a confidence bait or two helps for sure. Absolutely Sycamore. So all right, we'll see if we can add Dan back. He's moving again. Tips for co-angling. I think we talked about this right before your Shelbyville or Wren tournament, Sean, but yeah, I think just be ready for the opportunities. You're going, no matter what your boater does, you're going to have some opportunities throughout the day, and it's your job to realize them and be ready for them. So if he's going down the bank and he's beating it with a jig all day, you got to be watching where he's not fishing. You got to watch for that, deadhead over his right shoulder or whatever that he never saw. And as you go by it, it comes by you, you make that cast. Or maybe you notice some weak pump on the flat behind you that you can fish with a chatterbait. Or, you can drag a shaky head behind the boat. You just have to pretend the water is just coming at you and you make the very best decisions, lure presentations, and just do what you can that you feel is going to give you the best chance to get a bite. And you just got to take what's coming to you and be ready for those opportunities and make the most of them. I guess that's the best way, and have a few confidence baits. Dan's rigging wacky.
It was just a Cinco, wacky Cinco, but I was very cool,
choppy, slow-mo version of it.
Oh God, my internet full bars right now.
So I don't know, the guys in chat, is it just Dan or is it me as well? because we are on the struggle bus with Dan. So hopefully my feed is not that bad as well. Yeah, good tips by Eric here. Limit your tackle, things you have confidence, things that are versatile, and yeah, just take what comes to you. Good to know, guys. Thanks. It's probably because Eric is stealing Dan's Wi-Fi, and that's probably why it sucks.
I might have to move into the house for a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, good points, Ballin. Yeah, I think that's a very good point of view. And be there to learn. And if you catch fish, that's great. Yes, the visor is always looking good, Shadow. Good to see you, man. Eric, did you win your softball game, Gaff? Everybody has been asking all night whether you won or not. But so I guess we've covered a lot. While Dan's kind of moving around, definitely if you're in the market for a jersey, check out Arsenal Customs, or whether you want some custom stuff for your club or your youth group or your high school team. From what I've heard, he's got some good prices. Hey, awesome. Thank you, Sean Live, for the super chat. That's awesome, bud. Much appreciated. Where could you buy a knockoff Nico rig tool? Well, if you're really that hard, you can get them on eBay and Amazon and places like that. But honestly, they're not that expensive. You know, I think $20 or something like that gets you a tool and a bunch of sleeves. So for what it's going to save you, I don't think you need to really worry about buying a knockoff tool, to be honest. But otherwise, if you look, you can find them. And then you can just use my code 15 at Omni and save 15%. So that'll probably put you even with the knockoff tools. So you fish better than you play softball. So I guess that's one way to answer it. Okay, we're making the move. Dan's on the move. We're going to put him in timeout until he gets inside. A steer bander at a farm supply store. Interesting. All right. I feel like that'd be a very secure way to put your stick baits on your hook. Yeah, and you can buy aftermarket tubing as well, or you can buy the refill kits. There's a lot of options. None of it's that expensive. Honestly, it's one of the few things I don't mind like buying because it saves me so much in plastics. Steer banders for ice fishing reels. We don't talk about ice fishing on that stream. That is forbidden talk, punch fishing. Oh, we're getting a tour of Dan's house now. Oh, this is how the rich and famous live in Maple Grove. This is Arsenal Trips brought to you by HellaBass. This is how the rich and famous live in Maple Grove. Oh, he's got an echo going.
Yep, sorry.
He's got multiple units. Dan, so this is the life of Dan at Arsenal. Pretty much that little studio action. So this is the life of
this is my my console. This is where I spend like all of my time.
You're gonna have to mute your computer, otherwise we're gonna hear the echo.
It's muted now. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sign off the phone and then go to the link on the computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that?
Take me off the phone and then I'll go through the link on the computer.
All right, we're booting him and he'll come right back. All right. Too true, even when he's up north. Maybe you need some White Claws to boost the Wi-Fi signal, Sean. Yeah, I'll get some links to the tubing and that kind of stuff when the video comes out tomorrow after lunch. I'll make sure that those descriptions are all in the links below to help you guys find that. So you can get the tool and the tubing in a kit at Omnia. I'll put links to that, and then otherwise I'll help you find some other stuff as well. Yeah, Eric, next time we have Dan on, you definitely got to be there because this has been a hot mess. So you'd think so, Chad. You would think so. Slamming smallmouth crush during the break. Yeah, is Travis been streaming lately? I haven't seen him much. He's got some good streams. I've enjoyed them. I don't know. I do like myself a dark cherry White Claw, Sean. I don't know. I can get on board with those. What if I told you I had Lulu pants on right now? Would you be impressed or think little of me like with Travis? Oh, out of stock. Bummer. That's all right. Then we'll get you a code to Arsenal if not, and I'll get a code from Dan and put that in the description. Pants are optional, although it's getting pretty chilly in the garage these days. So, and again, we don't talk about ice fishing on this stream, Shadow. Come on now. But yeah, so hopefully Dan gets back and we can finish our talk. But we covered a lot of good stuff. We talked about the Champions Tour. We talked about Arsenal fishing, Arsenal Customs. We talked about the TOC, what Dan's all got going on. We need to get some swim jig tips. That was one of the things he was promising. He was going to give us some swim jig juice. So when he comes back, that'll be our topic to start with. Travis must be just too busy guiding these days. Dan's back.
Hi, you're here?
Uh-oh. We got a guest, huh?
I am back. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're good now.
So one of the things we didn't talk about yet is swim jig juice.
Yep, and I brought it all inside because I knew that we didn't get to that at all. Alrighty. So let's make this full screen. How about that?
You want me to? I can put you on full screen if you want.
Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever. So that's you, full screen, right?
Yeah, let me.
Oh, hello, everybody. So, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about swim jigs because most people know that I'm a big swim jigaholic. I don't know why. It just kind of became one of my bread and butters over the years. I seem to do really well fishing it deep, shallow. Doesn't matter. I just know how you get dialed into a specific bait and you just never let go of it. That's my bait, a white swim jig. So this is one of the ones that I typically throw and use. And as you can see, I use my Arsenal tactical minnow on the back there. And honestly, I have so much success on this jig right here that I don't ever try to actually put a different trailer on the back of it. Every once in a blue moon, the only other trailer I'll put on the back of this swim jig will be a twin tail grub or a one tail grub. Just because depending on the bite, that one tail grub or the twin tail grub, the twin tail kicks really nice and moves a lot of water, and that single tail grub, it circles and spins all weird, and it entices and it triggers a different type of bite when they're really, really picky. So that's kind of what I've learned over just fishing a swim jig so much that I've kind of dialed in my soft plastics on the back and how to fish it. But typically I'm throwing a white because most bait, as much as there's a lot of natural colors with the bait that we throw, fish I still see in different color patterns, and I really believe that different contrast or hue that they see is usually on that white spectrum the most. And you see a lot of silver fish and a lot of scales on fish are kind of iridescent or shiny or silver. So I think that white has pretty much the highest percentage of getting a bite. And up here in Minnesota, a lot of guys kind of look down upon that because you get a lot of northern pike. You're going to catch a lot of northern pike on a white or a bright colored swim jig, whether it's orange or neon green or, you know, the flashy whites. You're going to catch a lot of pike, and that's why a lot of guys don't throw it, because they don't want to deal with catching pike all day. But with me, sometimes you can clean out a pike in a one full area and then pick off the bass. As much as there's pike in the area, bass also typically are around pike as well. I know they hunt bass, but I find a lot that as much as you find bass with walleyes or smallmouth with walleyes a lot, you still can find largemouth with pike too. So white's pretty much the main color that I'm going to throw. As you can see with this one, it's actually a swim jig with living rubber. So it's a totally different, it's not a silicone skirt, it's living rubber, it's hand tied, and it's got some tinsel fiber on the backside just to kind of give it that little flash and that glimmer in the water column that makes it look a little bit more realistic. And then with the tactical minnow on the back, you got that small paddle tail and that more finesse action. So this is just a very finesse swim jig. This is actually a 3/8. I mean, I'll fish this thing deep in 15 to 18 feet of water too and throw it down and count it down and let it hit the bottom and pop it off the bottom, just like a football jig or a regular jig. I fish this very versatile. And then primarily this is going to be fished in pads, sparse pads, heavy pads, reeds, and also dock fishing. This skips like a dream. If you're going to use a trailer, the tactical minnow trailer, I highly recommend going to the 4.5-inch size than the 3.5-inch size. A lot of guys like to use a 3.5 or a 3.8 for their trailers. But if you just go to this 4.5-inch size with at least our tactical minnow, the main body is thicker than the 3.5-inch. And so it just has more surface area. So when you're skipping it, it just skips like a dream under docks or under brush or under trees or willows or whatever you're trying to skip. So I highly recommend grabbing some of those tactical minnows as a trailer on your swim jigs. If I'm not throwing white and the conditions call for different colors.
Before you go different colors. What weight swim jigs are you usually throwing, and what is that an Arsenal swim jig, or do you have a swim jig you prefer?
So I go with brands of swim jigs. I normally throw in a prototype swim jig from Arsenal Fishing. We've been working on a swim jig for 2 years, but our factory is they're making them, but the quality is not where I want it to be just yet. So I think this year we're going to nail it out of the park. So I'm hopefully going to have these swim jigs available. Excuse me. We'll have a finesse swim jig available and a heavy cover swim jig available. And so I've been pretty much throwing a prototype swim jig for the last 2 years. And that was that white swim jig that I'm throwing. Not throwing mine. If I'm not throwing mine, I'm throwing a brand called Lethal Weapon, or I'm throwing Outcast and the occasional, what's the other brand? Might be Kitech swim jigs. I only pretty much throw my prototypes, Lethal, and Outcast. You know, here's another Outcast jig, swim jig. And it's more, if I'm going to throw, it's going to be white, green pumpkin, or it's going to be a perch color or a sunfish kind of color. But I mean, the 4 that I have on my desk right here are pretty much the only ones I'm going to throw. Here's that white again. Then I got this one that's more of a natural color. It looks like a perch. You got the green head and the orange head. You got the underbelly that's a little bit orange, like a sunfish or a perch. And then I got 4.5-inch green pumpkin Arsenal tactical minnow on the back of that one. I'll probably throw that one second or third. This other black and blue with some purple and blue in it from Lethal Weapon. This one can do some damage too sometimes on specific lakes with murky water. That purple just kind of flashes really nice, and I get some good bites on that. So between that one, those three that I just showed, and then this Outcast one, that's more of that sunfish pattern, and it's got some tinsel, rainbow tinsel in it too. God, I'm so bad at this.
And are you a 4-ounce guy, a 3/8 ounce guy? What weights?
With my swim jigs, I'm pretty much 3/8 across the board. I'll throw a 1/4 ounce every once in a blue moon if I'm in really shallow water, or if I just know that there's kind of schooling on top of the water column or like subsurface. Like I see, like one of the big things where a guy will throw in they see some fish schooling on top water. Most guys are going to go throw in a popper or a spook or something top water to get them to bite. I'll throw a 1/4 ounce white swim jig and it'll be subsurface, and they crush that too. It's an easy meal. They don't have to come completely up to the surface and miss something. Then I feel confident in it that I'm not going to jump off a treble hook out of a fish, and that I can smack one and give them the meat on a hook set with a swim jig, just jig. I know it's not a regular flipping jig, but still a swim jig. I still jack them. They load up sometimes, but I like to jack them, and I feel really confident when I jack one on a swim jig that it's going to come in the boat. 9.9 times out of 10, if I really put the meat and potatoes to the fish on a swim jig, they're getting in the boat.
So what's your rod? And then are you a braid fluoro? What's your setup?
So I'll usually have around three rods just for swim jigs myself. It's kind of weird because I'm with Dobbins rods, and I love all the high end rods. I don't have any ecstasies. I will say that, the $550 price point rods, but this year I've been really getting into those Champion HPs that like at almost $400 price range rod, and can't tell you how much I love those HPs. But pretty much all my setup now is Champion XPs and HPs, and however, what I'm trying to say is, with my white swim jig that I have in my hand almost all the time, it's on a 733C Dobbins Fury. So it's on a lower end rod by Dobbins, but I've had that rod in my hand since I started really fishing a swim jig. And for whatever reason, that rod is not broke at all. I've just replaced a few guides, and it just feels right in my hand. No matter if it's a little bit heavier than other stuff, I still just feel right with that Fury 733 and a 734. Sometimes, you need a little bit more backbone and that power. So I go up to the 734 in case I'm fishing some thicker stuff.
And what line?
If I'm fishing docks and sparse vegetation, I'm pretty much going to be throwing this on 30-pound test. If I'm going to be fishing 30-pound braid. And if I'm going to be fishing reeds or really thick stuff, I'm going to hike that up to, the 40 or 50-pound braid, depending on the situation. And if I'm just primarily doing docks, sometimes I'll do the braid to fluoro thing and put on 12 or 15-pound fluoro as the leader. And I get a couple extra bites. I feel I get a couple extra bites having that fluoro leader on my swim jig around docks. So
yeah. So, but predominantly you're a straight braid swim jig guy.
Yep. I only find that there's only some lakes that the fish are line shy. And then most lakes, like I can still fish braid in clear lakes. Even Pokegama was pretty damn clear when we were up there, and I've had braid on almost every single rod. I was flipping every single day or swim jigging every day. And there are some times where I had fluoro leaders on that I snapped off, and then I just was too lazy to put on a new leader, and I just tied my lure onto my braid and still was catching fish in practice and stuff. So
and honestly, with a 3-ounce swim jig, you're cooking it most of the time. Like, it's moving. Like
3/8.
Yeah, but let me say 3. Yeah, like with a 3-ounce swim jig, that's a reasonably heavy swim jig. If you're fishing shallow, it's moving quick. Like, it's not. If you're fishing deeper, you're slow rolling and stuff. But like, action bite, they're not sitting there like looking it up.
When I fish my swim jig too, if I'm like, I'll throw it into the pads and everything, I might let it sink to that hole right when I cast it out. And then if I feel like I get caught in something, I'll pop it free and feel that vegetation loosen up. And then when I'm reeling it back to the boat, I'm popping it pretty much the entire way back. So I'm keeping it moving. I'm making it like pop, and like almost like you're talking about it, the tactical minnow looks like a fluke. It's almost like I treat my swim jig like a fluke, and I'm constantly just kind of giving it jerks and pops all the way back, depending on the situation. If I know that they just want a steady, fast retrieve back, I'm going to give them a steady, fast retrieve back. But
so you're more like an Alabama shake guy up north. Like you're doing the Alabama swim jig, which is a little bit rare. A lot of guys up here, including myself, are a little more. I usually start with the steady, and I'll pop it every now and then, but that's.
No one taught me how to fish a swim jig. That's just one of those things that I got into. Like, honestly, the white swim jig thing came in because 4 years ago I was fishing a weekend derby or a night derby with my buddy Justin Hill, and I got off the plane, had no practice. He's like, "Oh, a white jig's working on the weed line out here." And I only had a white swim jig in my box, never friggin' used it, threw it out, and we crushed that night and won the whole derby. And so I just got into it, and I don't even know what jig it was. It was nothing I even remember, but I ended up just coming across some white swim jigs over time and then learning how to fish it myself. And then over the last couple of years, I've been watching, the elites and all these guys a lot more and kind of trying to dial in and figure out what these guys are doing at that higher level. And why am I blanking on his name? His first name's Bill. Shallow guy, swim jig guy. Why am I blanking on it? What?
Lowen.
Bill Lowen. Thank you. Bigger guy. He's a huge swim jig guy. And when I started seeing him talk about swim jigs on like Wired to Fish or whatever show, he's doing the popping thing too. And so I was like, holy crap. So I don't know. You're talking about this as some Alabama Southern thing. It's just something that I started doing. And if it's something that works down there, I don't know. That's what's working for me up here. So.
Yeah. So are you a high speed reel, 7-to-1, 8-to-1?
I don't use my swim jig on any 8-to-8 ratios, but they're pretty much on 6 and 7s.
Okay. And then just a straight Palomar, you're not doing like any special
Palomar knots. I use Palomar knot on pretty much every single thing I do, just because it's so fast and efficient, and they hardly snap off like ever. If I'm gonna do flipping baits with a flipping hook, I'll use a Snell knot, and then I do Albert uni to uni knots, double uni knots for my braid to fluoros. I don't take time to do these FG knots like everyone's doing. I mean, they look good. The FG knots look good, but holy crap, I watch guys that I fish with constantly. It takes them 15 minutes to do an FG knot, and then they snap the FG knot after they test it, and they have to sit there for another 15 minutes and tie it up again. So I'm not going to take my time on that knot. My uni to uni knots that I do are still small enough that where they don't get stuck in the guides and they don't fray off or anything like that. I hardly have issues with my split of my lines. It's usually they snap off at the hook. So
yeah, so interesting. I definitely use fluoro leaders. What length are you using on a swim jig when you're doing that?
One of a fluoro leader? Not much. Like it's
18 inches, 24.
Yeah, 18 to 24 inches. Just because for that situation, I don't want the fluoro to braid, or excuse me, the braid to fluoro knot to have any contact with the guides, because I want to have those skips perfect. I don't want any kind of resistance.
So even like 12 to 18 inches, like you're gonna shorten it up. Yeah. Okay. Your boy Hunter Wentz in the house saying hi.
Hey, what up, Hunter? Hunter's probably one of the best high school anglers in the state, hands down. And he's 17. He's in his senior year, and he's definitely going to be a force to reckon with coming up here. And he's actually thinking about fishing the Champions Tour next year too. So, yeah, he's got. And we had one 17-year-old kid in the tour this year, Ashton Pearl. So he had a rough year, but I mean, having that opportunity at such a young age, I still don't see it as a failure. I still see it as a success, because you're learning from a lot of mistakes really young, and you're getting thrown into the thick of it real quick. He's going to learn real quick.
I guess it depends.
Opportunities myself.
I guess it depends on who's footing the entry fees when you're 17.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'll say this just to kind of take that edge off. If I have the money and I have a child doing that stuff, I'll shell out everything I could for my child, as long as I can to do it, some people just have a better stroke than others, and that's how it goes.
But I'm saying, like, it's, I think the opportunity there is to learn. Like, don't feel like that's, I mean, if you have that opportunity, great. But if that kid had to mow lawns and got into an ABA singles tournament, he can learn just as much doing that. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Oh, I'm not saying
a little more rewarding that way for some kids. So, but
no.
Chad, when are we going to see you on the Champions Tour? Well, I did fish the first 2 seasons, I think, part-time. I made the championship, at least the first season. But honestly, we talked about this earlier. As soon as they limit the practice and limit the info, I'll definitely be a lot more likely to put my money in.
So what happened this year, what I thought we were talking about official practice, I thought when they made the new rule this year that we only had 1 week of official practice. But what it ended up being was you only had 1 week of official practice of what they call their official practice, where you could be in the boat with a significant other or a marshal that was signed up for the tour. But if you wanted to be up there for 3 weeks ahead of time, you could, and so that's where I'm like, holy shit, nothing really changed here except you just can't have like another guide or another hammer in your boat helping you out in practice, which was a big issue last year for a lot of guys like myself. When you see guys that are known legends or known names in the state and they got guys in their boat for the championship practice, it's like, how is that fair? I'm in my boat spending time and trying to learn this lake myself, and you got guys that you're bringing on the water that have been fishing the lake for 10 years or they live on the lake and shit. It's just like, come on, guys. So it's good that Champion Tour likes to hear that feedback, and they try to make adjustments every year. And that's why they keep progressing, and they're doing well every year, because they're listening to us as the anglers and the spectators and making things adjust for the greater good of that circuit, so.
Yeah. Or if my work decides to double the amount of PTO I get, then if one of those two things happen, I'll definitely consider it. We talked about that earlier. I don't have a week for each event, and if they had it down to a 2 or 3 day official practice and off limits of a week out on info sharing, I definitely would be a lot more likely to put in my grand. But that's my perspective, and I don't have any bill against Classics Tour or the people that fish it, but it's not what I want to do with my money at the current setup. So, Palomar is a lazy man. I'm flat out bum. Yeah, I use the Palomar a lot, but I use it mostly for my reaction baits. I use it for my braid. For my flipping stuff, I really like doubles, like my jigs, my flipping. I use a double San Diego jam knot. I can tie it just as fast, and I feel like it's just a little stronger knot. So
that's funny you said that, because Eric loves the San Diego jam knot as well.
So I mainly use it for fluoro on my kind of my hard impact hook sets on fluoro. Because I just, every once in a while, you can tie an imperfect Palomar knot, and it can cost you. So yeah, it definitely is. The Classic Bass is doing a lot of things right. They do listen to their anglers. They are making changes from year to year. So I do give them a lot of credit for that.
No, the board isn't made of any participants. All the guys that are like directors and everything, none of them fish. Like Scott Bonema, the owner and the operator, the main guy of the event, he would die to fish it, but he doesn't. He wants to see this succeed and grow. And since it's still so fresh, he's gonna make sure that it goes off perfectly. And there's Providence Marketing that helps work with them. That's the Jack Gavin. That's Glenn Walker, a couple other guys. All those guys are good sticks too, and they all work the events and make it work for us. So I got to applaud those guys, because they make it happen for us, and they want to fish just as bad. So I think it would be a conflict of interest if there was board members that were participants. I wouldn't agree with that, honestly. Even Paul Newman, the tournament director, an amazing angler as well in our state, he doesn't fish it, since he's directing, and it's got to be on the phone to listen to all of us complain and whine and bitch all the time. So
Shadow says, what about the improved clinch net? The only time I really use that is for top waters, because because I often tie a short mono or floral leader to my braid that's only like 12 to 15 long. So I'll tie the clinch knot on a popper or a walking bait because it doesn't use up as much of my leader, and I don't have to make that big loop to go around a walking bait. So I preserve my leader, and on a popper, that straight like clinch knot sometimes give you a little truer action on your popper. You messed up and broke off. Is it the single or the double? Because I tie the double San Diego jam net, so that might be something you got to look into, Eric. Cool. Well, I don't know. I guess is there anything you wanted to cover, Dan, that was on your list?
Oh, I had a couple things, but I literally just blanked out on them.
Did you want me to? We could make custom Arsenal visors on the stream.
Well, I've told you I wanted to make you a visor, but you just want to make your own. You want to just cut them all off yourself.
I feel like the one you're wearing now would make a sweet visor. I could the way the logos lays out now, and that would look really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that would work good, dude. I think I got one of these left, so I'll have to save it for you.
Nice. Yeah, don't sweat the 3 tag ends. It works. Trust me. Your boy knows, Eric. Try the double, not the single. Don't be weirded out by 3 tag ends.
Oh, so if you guys don't know, I put on an event every year called the Arsenal Fall Brawl. It's our 5th annual Fall Brawl. And the last 2 years, we've had about 35 guys. Last year was 35 guys. The year before was 34. Someone just didn't show up. But yeah, we've had like a full field the last 2 years on East and West Rush Lake. It's October 10th. I'm putting out registration in a few days. I'm just kind of finalizing some stuff and getting the permit all going. But come on out. I mean, the first come, first serve. We'll have 40 boats this year. I'm gonna up it by 5 participants this year. Last year we filled out within like 3 or 4 days. So again, first come, first serve. It's $200 entry, $20 big bass.
And that's always on Rush.
It's always on Rush each year. I think last year top person got paid out like $2,700. Big bass was like $600 or $700. So it's a good payout. A lot of guys use this event as the last derby of the season before they put their boats away. The first 2 years, it was really good, like beautiful fall weather. You know, I came in second both those first years with 19 pounds. And then the last 2 years, it's been rough as shit. Like 2 years ago, we had like sleet, rain coming in from the side, super cold weather. I think we had 35 guys show up, and only 12 guys showed up to weigh in. There's guys literally getting off the lake at 12 or 1 o'clock. I'd never seen it before.
It's a team tournament, right?
What is it? It's a team tournament. So yeah, we only had eight guys have a limit. That 2 years ago, it was so hard. I think 12.5 pounds won for 4 fish. It's like the lake flipped, the thermocline flipped literally the night before. Everyone was having incredible practices. We thought we were gonna have like a derby of a lifetime, and it just was like gone. And then last year was similar, except we had like a blizzard that day. Everyone showed up in the blizzard, braved it out, 25-mile-an-hour winds. Everyone had like 1 to 2 inches of snow on their boat. But we had more of a we had 15 guys show up to weigh 15 guys with a limit last year. And then we had 2 17-pound bags and a couple big 5-pounders coming around the scale. So it was a little bit better fishing even in the terrible conditions. So it's just cool now to know that no matter how bad the conditions are, these Minnesota boys still show up and gaunt it out, you know, for some cash and for some cool trophies. I make some really cool trophies that people actually want to put on their mantle and stuff. So come on out, fish it, guys. It's last derby of the year, some good money. I pay down. If we get 40 guys, which I think I will, top 10 will get something. I think pay scale is top 6, and then bottom 4 are prizes.
Yeah, I'll keep it on my radar. Yeah, I might be pre-practicing Pickwick, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, when is that? In November?
November, but there'll be like a cutoff 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time. So, any tips for fishing smallies or square bills, Lake Michigan? I don't think you need to hit the bottom with a crankbait on Lake Michigan. I know they don't, unlike St. Clair and things like that. can't say they've been out on Great Lakes, but to me, big bone colored topwaters, keep them moving. That'd be my tips. Like, fish them fast.
Yeah, I don't have any tips for Lake Michigan. I'm sorry.
So, nice.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't know. Oh, hey, let me check real quick for a discount code for everybody.
Oh, here we go. Sean's been waiting till the bitter end for this. He's a big discount code guy. But yeah, so that's what's I've got for me. I'm gonna fish a TBF team tournament on Tonka this weekend.
Ooh,
I've been there in like 5+ years, but I'm gonna go out Saturday and snoop around a little bit, and then we'll see what happens during the Derby. I'm not afraid. I feel like I'm fishing well right now. I've got a little swagger in my step, so I'm not even worried about practicing.
Cool. Well, dude, actually, that's last year. My 3 best events. I just walked in. I did a 2nd place on knife with 0 practice. Just walked in and dropped 17 on the scale. 2 club derbies, no practice, and then Eric and I almost took 2nd at the Greenland Classic last year with no practice, but I had 2 dead fish that costed me like 6 spots.
Yeah, come on, Eric. You're in the back of the boat. You're supposed to be peeking in the live well. What are you doing?
No, what happened is we don't know who, but one of our foot touched the live well button on the front of the boat and turned off the wells for probably like a half an hour and killed 2 of our fish. And one was our biggest fish too.
Eric, you're supposed to be watching that stuff.
I know, Eric. Come on, we have
Snapchat, Gaff, and watch the live wells for God's sake.
Thank you. That kid's always on Snapchat. Way too much.
Come on.
Way too much. Way too much. I guess I'm just gonna make a new one for you guys.
Nice. And then other than that, like in 2 weeks, I got the TBF semis on Leech in late September, and then I'm probably going to sneak in a couple fall tournaments around here if I can when I'm not going down to Pickwick for pre-practice. Yeah, Sean, you wouldn't be pissed about the fishing in Minnesota. Promise you that. I mean, you've got brutal winters in Chicago, but not very good fishing. So if you're gonna have brutal winters, you might as well go somewhere that has good fishing in the summer. Yeah, the people that's their fault are the people that say it's not my fault. Just saying. If you're getting defensive, it probably was your fault. Yeah. And you should have been catching them faster, so you were culling more. And then you would have saw that those fish were not getting water. So
it's not
the way you look at it, it's your fault.
So yeah, what I'll do tonight for you, anyone that's on tonight actually listening, Rich Pod 20% off everything in the store. I think it just excludes anything that's already on sale. So, I mean, if I know some guys were talking about the tool and buying a knockoff tool, come on. Use the dang code. Go buy the tool right now. It's $20. Helps out a local business, and it's a non-corrosion tool. Doesn't have a spring that's going to break or fall out. It's got a little suspension system, rubber grips. It's worth the money, guys. You can find that all day for $5, $6, $8 online just as a single tool. But yeah, dude, help
Plus,
out.
the tool comes with the bands you need. It's a kit. Like you get whole thing. So it says the tool's out of stock, but you said it should, like, tomorrow it will be in stock.
I can probably make it stock any moment now, since you just reminded me. Thank you.
We make things happen on HellaBass Live.
It's hella cool.
But I would say, if you're not going to get the tool, I would definitely check out a couple tactical minnows for your chatterbaits and swim jigs and give them a whirl.
And we didn't talk about it, but the assault bug that we make is a really good trailer too. Like it's got the high thin ribs at the top and then the thicker ribs at the bottom. So with that, you can cut it off right at the thick ribs. I don't know if I have any with me right in here. Oh, I do. Nope, I don't. Those are some tank tubes that nobody has. Ooh, been sold out for like 2 years. But no, you can cut off the body on the assault bug and you kind of use it as like a chunk trailer or on a smaller hook jig, it works perfectly. And the plastic, yeah, exactly. You can cut it off right at that middle section where the ribs are, and use it on smaller jigs or smaller football jigs. And the tentacles and those craws flap very well and swim very well. I sometimes use this on the back of a chatterbait too. If I'm not doing the tactical minnow, I'm using a salt bug on the back, and that thing swims really nice too. It's a little bit heavier, and you get a little bit different resistance with a slower resistance on the swim because it flaps a little bit differently than obviously the easier shimmer tail. But
yeah, and I think like some of your stuff, like the Arsenal minnow and the pliers and stuff, are on Tackle Warehouse too. So I'm sure you guys shop there, and if you want to add something to your cart, you can check out. Dan has a few of his items at Tackle Warehouse as well.
Yeah, we got the weigh bags at Tackle Warehouse. We got the tools and the tubes, tactical minnows and assault bugs are on Tackle Warehouse as well. And we just got all of our tungsten on Tackle Warehouse. So pretty much they're starting to bring in most of the catalog. We're working on an updated champion finesse football jig. It's a tungsten football jig. We've had it for the last 4 years. I'm sold out of it right now. We're working on new packaging, and we're working to discontinue about 3 colors and bring in about 6 new colors with that. That's going to be, I should have all that stuff in about a month or 2.
While you wait, you can describe yourself in Bass Tech tungsten football jigs.
Yeah. Look at this guy. And then when he's sold out of his tungsten Ned heads, come back over to Arsenal Fishing because we'll have so those are new. I mean, he's got them, but we're going to have them soon here too.
So is there anything unique about the bladed jig you guys have? Sean wants to know.
So the rumble jig that we have is the thing is with all bladed jigs, you have to be really careful because of the copyright infringements and the trademark infringements on all the Z-Man chatterbait stuff, because their copyright or their patents on that jig is having the line tie right, or the blade is connected right at the hoop of the head of the, whereas, yes, there you go, bingo. Where everyone else needs a swivel in between those 2 pieces. And so with the swivel in between the 2 pieces, it makes most of other bladed jigs kind of rock to the side, or they don't track as perfect like this. They'll kind of track to the side or scatter to the side like a scatter rack kind of does. Our rumble jig does the same thing. So what we find unique with our rumble jig is you want to fish it very slow. That's why we make it also in a 3/4 ounce size, because if you're going to fish one of those deeper, heavier ones, you want to just barely tick the bottom and let that kind of just slow crank off the bottom or right above the bottom of the water column. But yeah, there's nothing hard, really big, unique. We actually have the head of it's more of a swim bait head, so it comes through cover a little bit differently. And the hook is a mustad hook. It's a very sharp hook. But the only thing I recommend if you do pick up the rumble jig is fish it slow. And you're gonna get the best action out of that jig when you fish it slow, and you're gonna get your biggest bites because of that. I've had guys down in Texas say that they swear by it because they slow roll a 3/4 ounce and they've caught 10-pounders doing it. So again, to each its own. You catch a good fish, you're always gonna buy that jig for the rest of your life, you know. So
will the tank tubes ever be in stock again?
We're remaking them with a new supplier right now. And basically, in the beginning, everyone didn't like them. Oh, Bass Tech, little plug right there, guys. I don't think I've but I need a Bass Utopia hoodie since now I'm a content creator and partner for them. But yeah, tank tubes. When we made them, I made an oversized tube thinking, you know, you're going to stuff football jigs up there or those big Golby rattle tube heads. But when we got the first 2 batches, the inner diameter was way too big. So a lot of normal tube jigs were just falling out of it. And people could only kind of really Texas rig these, or if they threw a football jig in it. So it didn't like really apply to a lot of people. or people thought they were a waste. But then I started just selling a crazy amount of them through Capras, and I was also selling a ton of them off the website to specific anglers, and they were buying 10, 20 packs at a time. And I realized people were doing that because they started throwing football jig heads in the damn things. And it was just a different, huge, thick profile tube that came over rocky cover really well and didn't get hung up a lot. And so they sold out really quick. So I'm working on getting them back, guys. This was green pumpkin. There's some Okeechobee craws too. We had only like 4 or 5 colors. There's 2 or 3 colors that really outshined others, but hopefully with this new vendor down, we have a vendor in the United States that's going to be making our jigs and our soft plastics now. So hopefully with that happening, we'll be able to fine tune colors and mold sizes and make everything perfect without having to run overseas and waste money on quality control managers and stuff like that. So 2021 is looking up both for Arsenal Customs, Arsenal Fishing, good projections for the year. Just a lot of revamping. We're getting a lot of stuff. We're focusing on only our high margin items right now and our high volume items. Removing a lot of stuff from the catalog that's just kind of been sitting there. Bringing in some more apparel items since apparel sells really well with the company and headwear sells really well with the company. And bringing in some just different jigs, tungsten jigs. Adding different sizes to our weight selection. Different styles of drop shot weights we're coming out with too. So doing whatever we can to give the people what they want at the moment. And just going to keep rolling with the punches right now.
Nice. Yeah. So I think we're a touch over 2 hours in. So
okay, we can get going.
last call for questions for Dan or I. We'll kind of wrap some loose ends up here. I'll definitely in the description have links to Arsenal and Dan's social and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys didn't catch any of that, but if you Google it and you know how to use the Google machine, you should be able to find everything. But I'll make sure there's links down in the description. As always, like I'm still putting out my videos. So I've been pretty consistent about getting like almost 2 videos out a week lately, plus the stream. So plenty of content for you guys to dig into. So if you guys are new here and you're not a ride or die already, please hit that subscribe button. Would love to. We've had some good growth lately, and it's been my tournaments have been good. The videos have been good. The channel's been going. I'll put a link to Dan's and Arsenal. He's got some high quality content, but there's only about 8 of them out there. So
yeah, that's the problem.
You can binge watch it in one night and be done. And then but
next year, everyone. I'm sorry. I know I had big dreams and big plans this year, but just with COVID happening, it took. I normally work all winter and all spring, and then June, July, August, September, October are all fishing, and then this year it's like work's completely overlapped all the tournament season for me too. So there's just been no practice time this year. There's just been no fun fishing. There's no going out there fishing for the camera kind of fun stuff. So it's just practice for a tournament, go to the tournament, fish, come home, work, and do it all over again. But yeah. I would rather do that than anything else in this world. I'm doing exactly what I want to do and what I love to do, and I'm going to keep doing it for everyone else too, and keep building products and try to content.
Gav says he'll run the camera if we can get out in the boat.
Question: where are Dan and HellaBass going to make a collaboration fishing bit? When? I don't know. Soon, I hope.
Yeah.
Maybe this fall. I have a lot more time in the fall, so if you can brave out the cold, Rich, I'm down.
I'm always game. And then Eric said he'll run, so we can actually have some like sweet footage. We can go GoPros, and then we can have a free running camera.
Well, Eric, are you really going to do that, or are you going to fish the whole time?
Can we just put like a GoPro on his head, and then?
Yeah, you could do that too. But no, he's got to pick up the big camera and run the drone a little bit. He's got to be a big boy.
Nice. What is Bass Utopia? Was that just So Jason Holmer started Bass Utopia several years back. He kind of got it up and running, built a pretty good social following, had some good like blog and video content. Then he got busy with his main job that probably was the 99% of his income. And now Omnia has kind of picked up that in conjunction. So that's kind of the social side of Omnia is Bass Utopia right now.
How I saw it before I knew a lot about it was it always seemed back when it was running that it was like a miniature Wired to Fish. Like it had the articles, it had the videos, it had guys in our local region. So yeah, when I saw it drop away,
a little more fun, and edgy than Wired to Fish, but yeah, not way different. So,
but yeah, so it's like I know Wired to Fish. I didn't even know for a while. I didn't know Wired to Fish was up in Grand Rapids. So.
Yeah, that's where they're connected to Gemini Sports, so that's where it kind of.
So who's Sycamore Outdoors?
He's just a guy that's on social and he hangs out on YouTube. He's one of my ride or dies. We hang out. He comes to the streams. He leaves comments, watches the videos. He's got spinner baits that I want. But I believe he's in Indiana.
Well, I'm asking because he's like, leave the camera to Eric. So I didn't know if he knew Eric or something. No.
But yeah, so I appreciate everybody that tuned in. We had like really good numbers tonight. We were over 50 for a while. We've had pretty much 30 almost all night live. So this should be a pretty good viewed episode. There'll be all the links will be down there.
Thank you guys.
Description. Yeah, I appreciate it. For you coming on, Dan. We got to get out fishing. And
yes. I mean, maybe we can do one only Arsenal. You know, I had two episodes last year. I was supposed to have 4. I just never got around to editing them, man. It sucks. I have hard drives of footage, and I just wish I had the time to edit.
Can I put a bug, an Arsenal bug, on the back of a Bass Tech Jig? Does that count?
Yeah, of course. some of the events or some of the episodes where we struggle, we'll mix and match a little bit, but I try to keep almost all Arsenal stuff. But yeah, we've got to figure out a day here in October or maybe at the end of September. Yeah, end of September, like things open up before. Yeah, let's do that.
I might be able to take a day off. Like I think I might have a couple extra PTO days, so maybe I can just take a midday week off because I think my weekends are pretty jammed with tournaments. But
okay.
Yeah, Lid Nation Shadow, I know you're obsessed. If you want to send me a hat, I'll customize it for you and send it back to you.
Lid Nation.
Or an Arsenal hat, leave a custom note in for Dan, and then he'll send it to me, and then I'll send it to you after I customize it.
Bingo.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. As always, here to help you catch more bass and suck less.
Peace.